All right, here we are at concept 5 for chapter 7, where we're talking about negative exponent property. You've learned all of the exponent rules. After you learn this one, you can do anything and everything with exponents, which is so awesome. So let's take a look at how we're going to begin. We're going to start off pretty standard. You guys know this part. We're going to box all coefficients. Pretty standard. Then we are going to highlight the base with its exponent. We're going to remember that different bases are different colors. So far, nothing new. We're good to go. Now, here's where it gets different. We are going to circle the base with the negative exponent. Now, I know what you're thinking. Whoa, 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 Miss Chiefy. You said in the last lesson that we should never have negative exponents. And really, you shouldn't. But sometimes they happen. Sometimes they creep in, or maybe they're in a problem that's given to you. So you have to know what to do with it if you do see it, okay? We want to try to avoid them at all costs, but if we have them, here's what we do. We're going to circle them, and then we are going to take the part that we circled, and we're going to cross that line and change that sign. Cross the line, change the sign. Cross the line, change the sign. That's right. I want it stuck in your head tomorrow when you come to class. Cross that line and change that sign. We'll take a look at what that means in just a minute. But basically the words, I know some of you guys are really struggling with this, explaining math with words, so clue in here. You're going to know that if it's in the denominator, move it to the numerator. Okay, so if it's in the denominator, move it up top and make it positive. If the negative exponent is in, it should be an n, is in the numerator, so if it's up top, you're going to move it to the denominator and make it positive. So just cross the division line, cross that line, change that sign. Let's take a look. Then after you do that, you're going to finish simplifying with your other properties. Now here's the thing, okay? Negative exponents are pretty rare. You're not going to see them very often, all right? So your other properties, you're actually going to use them in the beginning of your problem and then maybe at the end after you deal with any negative exponents. It'll just kind of depend on what you have. So let's take a look at some examples. Let's say we have number 49, because we do. First thing I see is that this is a 0 exponent, so that becomes 1. I'm going to cross that out. Tell you what, why don't you take a look at your packet and cross out any of the bases that have a 0 exponent, because we know they're going to be 1, so let's just get those out of the way. Let's see. Okay, that part is done. See, we used one of our other exponent properties before we even started. Now we have coefficient, base, exponent. All right, whoa, that's negative. But I'm not going to freak out. I'm just going to follow my order. Box my coefficient, highlight my base with its exponent. Now, this exponent I don't like, so I'm going to circle it. I don't like you and your negative attitude, so we are moving on. I'm going to take it and I'm going to cross that line, change that sign. But there isn't a line. That's okay. Remember, every whole number can be on top of a 1. Okay? It can be divided by 1 and that doesn't change anything. So we're going to give it a line. If there was a 1 down here, we could put it there as a placeholder, but it doesn't have to be because I'm going to take this and move it down. And that'll be its own placeholder. So this negative 1 will disappear and it will become a positive. Cross the line, change the sign. And that's referring to the exponent only. So now my simplified version is going to be -2 over x cubed. Whew, no more negative exponent. I'm much happier now. Circle that or box it, whatever makes you happy, and you're done with that one. Let's take a look at number 50. So for number 50, we've got 3 different terms. We're not going to freak out. We're just going to take it one thing at a time. coefficient, base, exponent, coefficient, base, exponent, coefficient, base, exponent. Yeesh, it's negative. No fun. But that's okay, I can handle it because I'm a boss. You're a boss too, right? Yeah, you are. You know you are. All right, I boxed my coefficients and I highlighted the bases and the exponents. But before I deal with this and turn it into a fraction, which would be kind of messy, I'm going to see if I can work with my other properties first, just because I think it'll be a little bit simpler. So let's see. 1 times negative 2 is negative 2 times 2 is negative 4, so negative 4. And then I add up my exponents. So 2 plus 1 is 3, plus negative 3, wait a minute, a positive 3 and a negative 3 is 0, which means my base completely disappears, and this whole big messy problem is just negative 4. That's awesome. That's why sometimes you want to use your properties before you dive into your negative exponents. Try to like do everything else that you can first, then deal with your negative exponent, then see if you have to go through the process again to deal with anything else, because you never know what's going to happen. Let's take a look at 51. So 51, we've got coefficient, base, exponent, coefficient, base, exponent. Now, box my coefficients like I'm supposed to, highlight my bases and their exponents like I'm supposed to. Now, if I go straight into my other properties, I'm going to use the quotient property here, and I'm going to be subtracting a negative, which if you're into that, no big deal. If it doesn't bother you to subtract a negative, go for it. But if it does, then just say, whoa, okay, subtracting a negative is a little much for me right now. So I'm going to deal with my negative exponent first. That's perfectly fine. This needs to cross the line and change its sign, and it'll disappear from the bottom. Okay, we're moving it, so it's not there anymore. Now when we reduce, I have a negative divided by a negative, which gives me a positive, and 1 over 2 doesn't really change. It doesn't reduce or anything like that, so it stays positive 1 over 2. And now I have v squared and v cubed up in my numerator. And remember, anytime we have bases right next to each other, that means they're being multiplied. So I can apply my product property, because I'm multiplying these two bases, and get v to the 5th, because I'm going to add 2 and 3. Keep it over 2, and there you have it, all set. Why don't you pause the video and give number 52 a try? I bet you can do it. How'd you do? Did you get 2a cubed over 3? I hope you did, but if you struggled, maybe watch the video back again to see how I did it. Or, of course, you can always highlight it and bring your questions into class and we can talk about it together. It's up to you. Let's keep going. Number 53. Here we go. All right, so I have coefficient, base, exponent. Coefficient, base, exponent, base, exponent. Coefficient, base, exponent, base, exponent. Big problem. That's okay. I'm just going to break it down into smaller pieces. Maybe you've heard the expression, how do you eat an elephant? Well, how do you? One bite at a time. Same way you eat everything else. So we're going to eat this problem one bite at a time. Just taking our time, taking it easy. I boxed my coefficients. I highlighted my bases with their exponents. Now, before I dive into dealing with negative exponents, which can be kind of tricky, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can use any of my other properties first to simplify this a little bit. So 4 times 4 is 16. Positive times a negative is negative. So negative 16, positive 16, and 1 just keeps it 16. So positive 16. Y, I'm going to have 4 plus 1 is 5, minus 1 is to the 4th. So y to the 4th, and then x is just 6. How about that? My negative exponent is gone. The other bases with their exponents took care of my negative exponent before I even had to. So in this case, it was way better to do the properties first. Now let's take a look at number 55. If I've got coefficient, base, exponent, coefficient, base, exponent. Okay. Box my coefficients and highlight my bases with their exponents Okay. So I have a positive and a negative, still going to be negative. 1/2 doesn't reduce. 4 minus 4, that's just zeros. Those are gone. And all I have left is y squared. Sweet. No negative exponents. That was easy. All right, we're going to take a look at number 57. Okay, so I know this looks big and scary, but just break it down. Take your time. You can do it. Coefficient, base, exponent, base, exponent, base, exponent. Negative. That's 1. That's 1. Coefficient, base, exponent. Cool. So I'm going to box my coefficients. I'm going to highlight my bases, M, N, and P. Cool. All right, so now we get down to the real work. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. M stays the same. N stays the same. P, I'm going to add negative 2 and positive 4. That gives me positive 2. Sweet. Negative exponent is gone. Negative exponents are so much easier than they sound, right? Like they sound all big and scary. Negative exponent, whoa. But no, like I said, they're super rare. You won't see them very often. As long as you know what to do when you see them, you're fine. All right, so let's take a look at number 59, and then the rest of these you can do on your own. So 59 is the last example, so make sure to pay attention. Here we go. Coefficient, base, exponent, that's a 1, base, exponent. Coefficient, base, exponent, base, exponent, base, exponent, negative. Bleh. Box my coefficients and highlight. So M, P, and Q. Yoink, yoink. Okay, here we go. Negative and a negative, that means it's going to be positive. 1/3 doesn't reduce or divide, so that's going to stay like that. M is going to stay all alone down here because it doesn't have any other M's to socialize with or to do anything with. And then I have P. I have 1 in the numerator, 1 in the denominator, so I need to do 2 minus 1 is 1, and that's going to go down in the denominator because that's where the bigger one was. And now we could subtract a negative exponent, or we could do this. I don't like. I'm going to move it up here, and q to the 3 will be up on top, and negative 3 is gone. So now if I have q to the 4 times q to the 3, I just have to add up my exponents to get q to the 7. And there we go. Everything is handled, and that one's done. All right. So the last, what is it, last 4 problems are for you. I know you can get it.